Welcome to Gaia's Love, a podcast to guide you home into your human journey here on Earth. My name is Vivian Gerard, and it is my delight to co-create with Gaia and share our messages from Source in this now moment. Here we go. Episode 495. It is Thursday here in Cincinnati. It is a beautiful sunshiny day, blue skies. The leaves are all changing color. I am so grateful to be sitting safely in my home, surrounded by calm and beauty. And that is the vibration, the energy that I bring into this episode today. There is a lot of turbulence happening on our planet, and some of it is weather-related, political, health, financial. There's so many ways that we are really seeing what I believe is the energy of Pluto as it's making its transition from Capricorn into Aquarius. It is a volatile, disruptive energy that is collective, and that means it impacts all of us in some way. And when we sit, so for example, like I do, I sit here in a safe, beautiful environment, knowing that at the same exact moment, there are so many who are really struggling with flooding and fear, hurricane impacts. There's so much that is happening in different places around our planet, and it is a privilege to be able to sit here and create a podcast and send this transmission out. And I'm also very clear that there's a reason that I am sitting in this space with my video camera to embody and energetically transmit a frequency of calm, a message of open hearts. Open hearts. I know, just saying those words, it brings up emotion. And yet, I believe when we go through big transitions collectively, there are different roles that all of us are called to play or participate in. And we don't see it when we're in it. Often, we're just caught up in whatever the experience is that we're living that's playing out. When it's a hurricane or flooding, or it's a life and death situation, we're in the moment in survival mode, trying to make the best decisions we can and be cautious and present. And then later we can look back with a different perspective and just see the miracles that happened all along the way, the synchronicities that had to go this way and this way in order for this to arrive, and these people to come together and this shift to happen. Later we can see that. In the moment, often we're not able to be in that space of big picture or the whole perspective of our lives, why this one moment had to be as intense as it was, as it is right now. And so I can sit here in this place of calm and hold a frequency of calm that ripples out into the collective frequency, which may not all be calm. And so there's a role that I am playing that I'm very conscious of, very aware of in the moment that I'm doing it. And so this podcast today, in the energy of Gaia's love, it's the name, the frequency of what I've been creating for years. The message is to keep our hearts open, to breathe, to drop into our own knowing that there is always a bigger purpose. There is always an underlying lesson or wisdom or healing or expansion that our soul has brought us to each experience for. And when we trust in that collective guidance, in that higher understanding of why our soul is here in a human body on this planet. When we can keep coming back to that trust, we have the strength and the resiliency to move through any moment, no matter how intense, no matter how overwhelming. We have this understanding within ourselves that there's a why, there's a reason, even if we don't know it yet. Even if we're too enmeshed in the moment to even consider that there might be a why. That trust and certainty carries us through the really scary times. And in those moments where we're feeling that intensity, a clear voice that comes through and reminds us that there's a bigger why, that reminds us to breathe and stay calm and to open our hearts. And when that frequency comes from a heart that is open, that is calm, it pings something within our own heart. It soothes and steadies. It's like honey, added to a cup of tea. It just makes it a little bit sweeter, a little bit calmer. And so that's my intention for today, is to share a few reflections about how we keep our hearts open and what that means, what that looks like and feels like. And my words, my stories, hopefully encourage you, remind you to breathe, to trust, to know that there is something bigger happening that maybe we just don't quite understand in this moment. So we breathe. We put our feet on the floor. We feel our connection to this planet. We bring our energy into our body. When there is a huge wave of collective fear that moves across our country, our planet, it can lift us up off of our feet. And many of us have been watching an image on a TV screen that shows a huge ball of turbulent, swirling energy in really intense, vibrant colors, moving with the words destruction and path of destruction and, words that bring up fear because we understand what the tangible results are of a hurricane. We've witnessed the devastation before. So we've all been watching, many of us have been watching this image of an energy, a big bubble wave of energy making its way towards the coast and then moving all the way across Florida. We just watched a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, as it did the exact same thing and devastated states, not just towns, states in our country. And we know what that means to humans, to human life, to suffering. And so when many of us focus our attention on seeing this image, and the image is moving, and it's an energy, we match what we see, we expand what we put our attention on. And so this wave of movement, this current of energy that collectively we've all been visualizing and seeing broadcast out through our phones and our TVs and our computers, we all match that and intensify that because so many of us are watching it. And so even if we're nowhere near Florida, there's a sweeping, a current that is moving through all of us simply by observing what is happening in another place. It intensifies the experience for everyone, for those in Florida, for those who are watching. I don't think it's right or wrong. I'm just describing the experience, the co-creation, how things can begin to feel more and more intense, and how it can lift us up off of our feet, meaning our energy that perhaps normally would be very grounded and present in our bodies. We're here, we feel our feet on the floor. If you imagine like a hand in a glove, our body holds our soul in place easily with all of the fingers in the glove. When we get swept up off of our feet, it's like the hand comes out of the glove. That would be our energy coming out of the glove. the body, and we're just barely attached. It would be like the glove is hanging off the ends of the fingertips. That's what it can feel like. Our soul just pops right up and sits right above the body and kind of observes from above where it feels a little safer, and it's watching what's going on. When that happens, we're not embodied. We're not in our power. We don't feel safe because our energy isn't all the way down in our root chakra. So I invite you to bring your energy down into your body by visualizing your soul coming into your physical structure, just like a hand moves into a glove. The glove is your body. The hand is you, your energy, your consciousness, the infinite part of who you always are. And you can use your breath to bring yourself down and into your body, all the way down to your toes. You might find that your legs are kind of tingling, or your feet are tingling a little bit. You might yawn or burp, or your eyes might start to water. When we bring our energy into our body, we often have a physical reaction because we're inhabiting a physical space. So relax your muscles and just allow yourself to feel what it feels like to be in your body, even when times are turbulent and chaotic. Even when what we are watching is heartbreaking, it's hurting us to see other people suffering. We are of greater value in this human realm when we're in our body and grounded and present, and we can make decisions that are empowered, decisions that are embodied, so that we move from a place of knowing and trusting. We're not up in our heads. We're in our root, feeling safe, feeling secure, trusting our gut. Our hearts are open and we can feel through our hearts. There's empathy because we're here. We're in the heart space. We're not up above watching from the head or above the head what's happening in the heart. We're feeling it. And people resonate, humans resonate with a shared experience, with a shared heart space. There's so much research being done about heart coherence, that when we all come into the same energy field, the same heart space, that we can have quantum healing. We calm ourselves. It's like the newborn baby put on the mother's heart. They synchronize the heartbeat. They bring the two into heart coherence, and the baby stops crying and the mother calms down. It's the same for all of us as humans. But if we're not in our body and we're not feeling what's happening in our heart, how are we going to have empathy or connection with someone else who really would like for us to be in the heart space with them? It doesn't mean we take their suffering. It doesn't mean we do the heart work for them. It means we just feel our own heart and allow that heart to create an energy field that connects all of us. It takes a lot of courage to be in the body when we are watching catastrophes, when we are witnessing war in the way that we are doing that now on our phones through social media. We are first-hand witnesses to horrors that only soldiers used to see. And now it looks like a TV show, but it's real life coming through our phones and our computers to us, broadcast by the news. It's no wonder that we don't always want to be in our body. We don't want to feel that it could be true that humans do these things to others, to other humans, or that nature creates devastation. Sometimes our heart doesn't want to believe that that is true. But that is part of the human experience. That is one of the reasons why souls choose to come have an embodied life on this planet. It's to feel, to experience, not just one little part of being human, the joy, the bliss, the play, the fun, the creativity, the light, the sunlight. We know all of that as infinite souls. We come here to feel the range of emotions, the range of experiences, the duality, the contrast, to understand that light is brighter, sunshine is brighter when you're coming out from the dark of the night. That one of the most magical times is when the sun is starting to rise or the sun is starting to set. We see the in-between, and we know what is on either side of that. It is easy when times are shifting like they are exactly now in this moment over the next few weeks. It is easy in times of shifting energies to default to fear because we don't know. We don't understand yet. We can't see what it's going to become. We're in the time right before whatever the next experience is going to be. And so how do we stay steady in that? Many of us pop out of our bodies and we watch from above. My invitation is come back into your body. Invite your infinite consciousness, your soul. Let me say that again. Invite your infinite consciousness, your soul, to come into your body. All the way down, through to your root, down through to your feet. Fill your body up with you, the unique soul expression that chose to come beyond this planet right now because you knew that there was something you could contribute. You knew that there was something you could learn. And the place to experience that is in your body, with your heart open. Because we can come, there's so much energy moving, we can come into our bodies and we can close our heart. And many of us do that. It's too hard, too painful to feel what we want to feel or need to feel and what everyone around us is feeling. It may be too intense just to feel our own feelings. Why would we want to even tap into the collective? No, why would we do that? Other individuals who are suffering, why would we open that up when it's intense enough in our own experience? So take a breath. Relax your shoulders. Relax your shoulders. This is one of the easiest ways to work with your heart chakra, is you relax your shoulders and you don't try to lock them up and hold them tight and hunch yourself over and protect. You consciously create a body structure that is relaxed at your shoulders. When you drop your shoulders back, your heart chakra naturally starts to open. It has to, because your shoulders are leaning back. And when we start to open our heart just a little bit, we are reminded of our own strength and our courage. We'll go all the way back to the beginning. The courage it took to take your first breath and actually come out of your mother's womb as a baby into life on earth. Like you had the courage to do that. You had the courage to move from being held by parents or siblings or whoever raised you, your grandparents, whatever your story was. However, you were learning how to support your neck and then your back. Eventually, you got on your legs and you learned how to crawl. You had the courage to crawl. Oh, and then you had the courage to stand up. To stand up and to begin to walk, even though you fell down all those times. Probably bopped your head, hit your butt with your diaper on, knocked into some things, maybe got some scratches. But you kept getting up and you learned to walk. And then you learned to talk. I mean, maybe you said words that didn't make sense. Maybe people didn't understand you. Maybe you had some learning disabilities and you had to overcome some things to be able to get your words and your ideas across. Maybe you didn't like what people were saying back, and so then you had to practice how to say things differently. But you learned to talk. And then you learned how to learn. And then you learned about relationships. You had the courage to open your heart again and again and again. And again. And somehow you're here listening to this podcast that's reminding you you have the strength to open your heart again another time, no matter how many times you've been hurt before. How do you know that? because you're sitting here with me, and my heart has been hurt so many times. And still I sit here and I say to you, hearts open. This is how we navigate through this time. In our bodies, feet on the ground, knowing that we chose this life. Breathing when it feels intense. Coming back to this message as many times as we need to be reminded, and opening our heart up again. Because when we keep our heart open and we keep coming back and re-examining and releasing the fear and letting go of the doubt and trusting again and having the courage to do it again and opening our heart again, that's why we're here. That's the journey. It's to remember that there is constantly love and support and connection that is available to us as humans. We already know that as souls. We come from one energy and we return to one energy, and in between we're constantly connected and wired together as souls. We're just different expressions of one source energy. We know that as souls. But here in the human form, we have forgotten that, and then we start to remember, and then we doubt, and we forget, and we remember again, and it's this constant dance of separation and unity. When we trust our heart, when we keep opening our heart again and again, we tap into that unity. We are reminded that at some point we will end this life and we will return to one source energy again. And this will have felt like a brief moment in time, just a drop in and out of a planet that was just a quick little adventure. We just did that thing. We went to Earth, to Gaia, and we just lived that life and came back out, and whoa, was that a doozy. Do you remember that really intense time when Pluto was moving from Capricorn to Aquarius? Do you remember how we struggled? That was wild, wasn't it? Yeah. So while we're here, still able to learn, still able to practice having courage to trust our hearts, to open our hearts, I sit here in this frequency and remind you, it's time to open our hearts again. It would be very easy right now to default into fear, to close our hearts and lock up the space that we normally allow connection through. And I'm saying, please don't do that. This is the time to open our hearts more than we ever have. Pluto is stationing direct now this weekend, tomorrow, Saturday. It's been retrograde for several months, and it's been moving back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius for a while, a year now, over a year. This weekend, Pluto starts going forward in Capricorn for 5 weeks, and then it will cross into Aquarius in November, and it will move through Aquarius for 20 years. There is a cycle that is completing. There are deep, big lessons that we have all been learning with Pluto and Capricorn. Deep lessons about resilience and strength and commitment, power, control, authority. And we're about to transition into whatever Pluto's lessons in Aquarius will be. Community, connection, humanity, technology, information, science. I mean, there are so many areas that will be opening up for us to look at. And it may still be turbulent for a while. It may be a 20-year journey that tests us in ways we never have been tested before. But look at what we are now after 15 years in Capricorn. We're good. We're strong. We can handle so much more than we could starting in 2008. The version of us now compared to the version of us back then, oh my gosh, like wow. Who will we be after this next 20-year cycle? And that's just one layer of the astrology. It's the one layer I keep focusing on because it resonates most with my chart, with the work that I do in my life, with what my soul is here to contribute and guide us through. There are so many other layers, and when we keep our hearts open and we're curious about why it's all happening, the little pieces and nuggets that we need to know will find us, will carry us through the tough times. The astrology that guides me, that I share, might match you, but it also might open something for you, and you find other layers. You're like, oh, forget Pluto, Viv. I'm all about Neptune. I'm all about Uranus. Did we talk about Venus? You may have another whole direction that your chart, your interests are going to take you. But by sitting here in this frequency with me for quite a while now, and keeping your heart open, and hearing all these words and feeling the frequency, you'll be strong enough to go look, to explore, to follow the trail for you. And then whatever it awakens in you will carry you into the next conversation that someone around you needs. And then the conversation you have with them will carry them into another conversation that someone you'll never know needs. But because you showed up with your heart open, you could ripple that energy, that heart coherence out, and it could keep expanding. It is very easy to watch the news, watch social media, hear the stories that other people are talking about, and believe that what is happening on our planet is all bad, that it's fear and destruction and endings. And I disagree. I think there is always a balance that is happening on our planet. The news may cover the negative because it's more sensational. It grabs our attention. It hooks us in, and it gives the media time and money in whatever ways they're getting paid for it. Same for social media. There's so much emphasis on the hook. What hook are you using that'll grab people and hook them into your your world, your page, your profile? At the same time, there are so many beautiful, calm, meditative, spiritual, heart-based things that are happening on our planet. There was a baby that was born this week in a program that I'm in. There are people announcing pregnancies. There are people getting married. There are people getting divorced. There are people beginning again. There are houses being built just like there are houses being destroyed. There are new trees being planted just like there are trees that are being swept in the floods. There's always duality. There's always both and. And if we focus on the negative, we will expand more of it. If we honor and acknowledge what is happening in the expanse, let me rephrase that, in the contraction and expansion that comes through difficult times, chaotic times, if we can acknowledge that that is happening, and also hold that there is duality, there is good, if we want to use good and bad. There is joy, just like there is pain and suffering. And we keep our focus on being in our bodies and our hearts being open and expanding the heart coherence. I believe we will expand more of the joy, of the connection, of the humanity that has us here on this planet. And this experience of life will shift. It will become, the words I use are like richer, deeper, more tranquil, just as powerful, just as potent. But maybe eventually we don't need as much of the suffering on this planet. We can feel, tap into the frequencies without it having to be quite as intense as it has been recently. Okay, I'm rambling now. One of the things I wanted to just wrap up with is how beautiful it is to hear from some of you the ways that this podcast impacts you. That when I send the frequency out, it lands in a way that is good for you. I had an incredible message from a listener this week that was talking about what I shared last week about my lisp. And they said, it's actually one of the main reasons I listen to you. I was like, really? Seriously? Thank you. So big shout out to the beautiful message that just really touched my heart so deeply. And then this week I was able to have coffee with a listener from Georgia who was in town. And we got to chat and share, and I could hear about her story, which is always so beautiful to me because I feel like as a listener, you know a lot about me and my life through the stories that I bring here. It's really nice to hear what's happening in your world. So thank you. Thank you for listening. We are 5 episodes away from number 500, and we are 5 weeks away from Pluto moving into Aquarius. So I am completely bowled over, blown away, mind blown by the timing and the alignment of this podcast. And I'm sure episode 500 is going to be all about the journey and these numbers and the synchronicity of life when we just keep surrendering and trusting. If you are looking for some support with chakras, getting into your body, coming down to your root chakra, there is a meditation track that I uploaded to Insight Timer. It's free. You can listen to it on my profile page, and it's called Chakra Play. I also collaborated with a musician and sent her the track, and then she added in her music, and we uploaded that track. So you have one with music and one without music, which I think is so fun. I also have a meditation live coming up on Sunday, an attunement, which I think is going to be very potent because it is the weekend that Pluto stations direct and starts going forward. And I'm sure quite a bit of the meditation will be focusing on this shift that is happening. I believe some of the next podcasts we're going to be talking quite a bit more about Pluto. So I'm excited to see how that's going to go. But the attunement is $111. It's an hour. You keep the recording for a year. You can listen to it as many times as you want. And you are live in the moment with me as we do the meditation by Zoom. They are really powerful energy healing sessions. So if you've been feeling like it's hard to be in the body, it's hard to keep my heart open, sometimes I just would like some guidance, that would be a really beautiful place to go. I will put the link to that in the description if you want to tune into that. I don't know what else. I have my retreat coming up in 5 weeks in November. It is on, it's happening. I've been watching the weather with a little bit of attention on what's that mean for my retreat. Most of it on what's happening for the people being impacted, but a little bit on what does that mean, and I think we're going to be good for where we are scheduled to go. So that is going to be an extraordinary experience. If anything in you lights up as I'm saying that, take the time to look at the link in the description and feel into on the sales page if it's a match for you or not. You will know. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. I'll have more retreats, but there will never be a retreat at this moment when Pluto crosses into Aquarius. It's going to be extraordinary. 3 days with me, I don't know. You got to be ready for your heart to open because it's quite a thing to hang out with me when I'm doing that much energy work and loving in the way that I do. And if you just want a little bit of like, Viv, let's take a look, talk to me, look at me, what's happening, I offer activation sessions. It's an hour, it's $333, and you keep the recording. There's a lot that comes through in 1 hour. You will be quite amazed if you have never had a session with me before. You will be amazed, and it's your soul speaking through me to you. I know that because I've seen it again and again. It's quite remarkable how clearly different every session is. And I know that's not me, that's you. It's the person who is sitting there ready for the message that their soul wants them to receive. So those are available if you need support. You can schedule them on my website. Okay, we've got this. Hearts open. It's going to be an incredible time. And if we can keep our hearts open, we are of the greatest service to ourselves and to everyone around us. So be really courageous. I believe in you and me and us. So much love. Thank you for tuning into this vibration of pure love. Let's take this message of Gaia's love out into all of our relationships and communities today. So much love from my heart to yours.